Hello and welcome back to possibly the final episode of There Are Only 200 Pokemon. I have come up with a somewhat upsetting solution to go from the roughly 400 Pokemon I have now, down to 200. And that solution is to cut each of these pages of Pokemon in half, and then choose a page to delete. And you might think, well, what if there's like a great, look, the Eevees are cut in half. There's a great one on the side and a great one on the side. Well, what I'm going to do, let's say I decide to delete this half of the Pokemon. Then the only way to save them would be, let's say I really like Natu. Then I have to get rid of something on one of the saved sides from any of the pages. So any of the saved Pokemon I have to get rid of, and then that will keep Natu alive. And I guess to symbolize if a Pokemon is kept, maybe I put a little green dot below their name. We'll say that this half is saved. Okay, and then we go up. And now this one, you're making me choose between Wooper and Articuno and Zapdos and Moltres. That's a rough one. I do think I like this left side a little bit more. And then finally, we're cutting the old Gen 1s in half. This is where it gets tricky. Although, not that tricky, actually. It's obviously this side is the one we want to save. Because this is where all those weird ones are. Okay. So now we can zoom in, and we can say, okay, so everything on this half has been eliminated. So Pikachu is no longer in the game, which of course is ridiculous. If you're not saving Pikachu, this isn't a list of Pokemon. And I think also of the unsaved Pokemon, I guess I can just cross out the ones that I'm like, yeah, fine, you didn't make it. You know, that I'm not going to bother to put the effort into save, basically. Like these olives. It's like, they're kind of fun, but it's not worth my time trying to save. Thwacky as well. We'll see about Rillaboom, but I doubt it. Okay, how to save a Pikachu. Sigilif doesn't really... It's like unknown, but I don't know. Is it actually an unknown? I'm kind of curious. Like if unknown has an evolution or something. Because it is a sigil, right? But does not seem to have anything going for it. Yeah, that one was pretty easy. I'm not sure how it squeaked by. I guess it's just inoffensive enough that I didn't notice it. But not so inoffensive that it was offensive. So I came across, this is made by, one second. So this is a piece of art done by an artist called Urbanator. And I think it's on DeviantArt I found it. He's got a bunch of evolutionary possibilities for Pokemon. And I thought this one was great. It's a way to connect Chikorita to Tropius. So instead of Bayleaf, you go to this thing and then you go to Tropius. And I think it looks amazing. They've got a bunch of similar works of art like that. I really liked it. Almost made me want to like switch it for Bayleaf. Actually, with that in mind, I think Bayleaf is going to go. And Drafrig. Now, these were already in the lost section, but I'm just going to put them down as guaranteed lost. Because I don't... sorry, Frigoraph, or whatever it was called. Now I'd like to save Wooper and Quagsire. I'll try the dots and see if it's readable. So to save them, I think I'll get rid of Wynot and Wobbuffet. And then they're almost like Scrappy-Doo. They're the punchline to like Jesse and James's hijinks more than proper Pokemon. Obviously I want to save Azurill. So Azurill I will save by getting rid of Mandibuzz. I really like the idea of a Dark Flying. I think it looks good. No, it can stay for now, I guess. It's getting hard. I'm not sure if I will edit this with a bunch of jump cuts or what. It is a tricky one. I don't need 2 Knackle Stackles. Well, that got easy. Oh, but this isn't decide on keeping. These ones were already on their way out. Well, I'll cross them out just for... But yeah, it's on this side I have to eliminate someone if on this page. Sirfetch'd is kind of a thin ice type situation. I broke up Seaking and Sea Queen because I feel like they really shouldn't be evolutions of each other. Goldeen, sorry, down here. They don't really feel like evolutions of each other. So I just broke them apart. Maybe I get rid of one of the blobby boys again. They look much better in their lowland forms when they're like oil spills. They actually look different. Actually, you know, Anorith and Golisopod, they're very similar, aren't they? So I think, yeah, you guys can go. I don't think I'm going to be I'm not. Well, I'll try. I'll try. But these I'm more confident about going. Of course, it's still not in the zone of saving. Ooh, get rid of Annihilate. Yeah, you know, I gotta save Meryl, right? So Annihilate's gone. Okay. Oh, and Pikachu I saved. I have to record that. So Pikachu has been saved. I'd like to save Pichu as well. I'm willing to sacrifice Raichu to do so. But I do like the Alolan Raichu with surfboards, so I won't do it immediately. I kind of came to this realization that I don't actually like Steel-type Pokemon almost always. Like Steelix, and because they tend to look artificial, and it's weird, like, I think if Voltorb and Electrode, for example, were made now, they'd both be Steel-type. But then again, I think Magnemite and Magneton weren't Steel to begin with, because Steel is a new type, right? Fairly certain it is. Skarmory, I guess. There we go. Okay, and now I want Chansey to be saved. Lileep can go. I like to save all these guys, and Charmander, obviously. To do that, I think I get rid of Surfetched. It's a neat idea. It's a neat idea. But with only 200, it's, you know, I'm going to have to be harsh here. I don't think I'm willing to fight for Colossal and Carkle. They have a really cool ability, but I don't think I'm willing to fight for it. I'm not willing to fight for Hatterene and Hatenna. Or the other Knuckles. Well, the other Knuckle stack I'll keep for the moment. Hypno's going to have to go at some point. Drowsy probably, but we can keep him for the moment. This thing can go. It doesn't do anything wrong, but it's just a little bit too busy, a little bit too derpy. It'd make a great Mario villain. If there's only 200 Pokemon, having like Convergent Evolution isn't really going to... There's not going to be room for it. So I think those guys are going to go as well. Let's save Bulbasaur. I like Bulbasaur. You know what? I can always return Seaking and Golding later. So let's get rid of Seaking. Let's grab Ivysaur. At the cost of a Golding. And then I can always come back for them later. And maybe I use a purple dot to remind me. Oh, that doesn't stand out at all. Maybe I use a purple dot to remind me. Hey, I might want to trade these for something else in the future. But for now, keep it like that. Okay. Now I want to save Venusaur. And for Venusaur, we get rid of Muck. Muck's another one I'm willing to fight for a little bit, but... Okay, we've got this Hitmonlee here, which I think... Do I want a Mankey or a Hitmonlee? There's a question for you. And you know what? I think I want a Mankey more than I want a Hitmonlee. So I think one of the easy groups of elimination would actually be Pokemon where if they were missing, I wouldn't even notice. Or even if they were there, I wouldn't notice that they were there. For instance, Eldegoss, it's like, oh, there was an Eldegoss? What's an Eldegoss? Like, it's not that... I recognize it because obviously I'm more familiar with the earlier generations. But it's more the Pokemon where if I was playing, they would sort of be background noise. I would never go, oh man, I got to catch that thing, because it does nothing wrong. It just doesn't inspire anything whatsoever. And I think that applies to like Petal and Lilligant as well, which are here. I'd like to save a Yanmega, I think. And I moved Seedot to be the start of Cottony and Whimsicott because I couldn't find another place for him. Oh, I can also get rid of... Oh yeah, I also moved Seedot to be next near Carnivine. But I think with the limited space... Well, I don't know, it'd be neat to have the Pitcher Plant, the Rafflesia, and the Venus Flytrap, so maybe I won't be hasty there. Okay, but the pigeons can go. We already have Pidgeotto. Well, these are doves, I guess, but the doves can go. Pigeons are doves. There must be a way to rearrange these so that there's less of them. This is a centipede, that's a centipede, that's a centipede, that's a centipede, that's a centipede. It's kind of like they just redid it, but with fire instead of poison. And poison's, like centipede's already poisonous, that's kind of silly. I don't really like how Sizzipede looks. So Sizzipede can go. That gives us our Yanmega. I'd like to grab Meryl. He's got, like, kind of derpy eyes, you know? We're looking for the smallest flaws now. Centiskorch is a bit too flat, though. That kind of bothers me. I really like the idea of a fire centipede, but I wonder if they didn't quite pull it off here. Whirlipede doesn't really make sense. Like, I mean, sure, it's a spinning thing, but then why doesn't it get more spinny, you know? Because typically the triple bug is for a metamorphic stage, but there isn't one here. I have a free save going on. Let's start saving the evolutions. Trumbeak can go, I don't know, Umbreon. These seem like you don't need all of them. Fighting Ghost is a neat typing. Yeah, I think Phantump can go. I mean, Leafeon. Mandibuzz and Vullaby can both go, though with a bit of trepidation. A Glaceon and a... Who from here must I absolutely save? You know, I really do like Seedot. I think they have a great design. I'm not sure who they evolve into in my new world, but Seedot alone I do like. And I think Cherubi's just a lost cause. There's no one that's going to give up their position for them. Yeah, you notice, like, even if you compare, like, a relatively new Pokemon, well, Gen 2, like Skiploom or Ladybug to something like Go-Go or Skidoo, they have so much more... detail is not exactly the right word, because it's more like pieces to their design. I'm sure there's a word for it. But it's like Skiploom is a little blob with a flower, whereas Go-Goat has red hooves, big horns, a leafy tail, a leafy ruff, 2 colors on its coat, shaggy fur. Like there's a whole lot more descriptors needed to describe a Go-Goat versus a Skiploom or a Hoothoot. And I think that might be part of why I don't like them, actually. Why did I choose to save this side, anyways? I would like to save Shaman. Shaman's great. Shaman's great, and I can give up a Frou-Frou for that. And then I'm going to save Clodsire and Snorlax for the Go-Goat. And Pyroar can also go, I think. So, kind of tempted to save the Pokemon, the spiders. I do like Chikorita and Tropius. You're someone else. Like, this isn't a real Pokemon. Chikorita and Tropius. I mean, like, I wish you were a real Pokemon, but you're not. So Chikorita and Tropius can come in at the cost of the Lion, which doesn't quite work for me compared to others. Like, it's good, but compared to the others, it doesn't quite work. Oricorio is almost too fancy. It's like another Farfetch'd. And I remember those other forms of it I didn't really like. We've got a spare Dragonair over here. So we've got 2 slots, because I counted them as if that existed. So these 2 seem pretty cool. Finneon and Lumion. So I will save them. I like the idea of Litwick, but once it starts turning into a lamp and a chandelier, it gets kind of weird. So I'm not going to work super hard to save them just yet. I think Centiskorch is just a little bit too off. Yeah, I think I like the fire bug idea more than... Like, I think the Venipede actually looks better. So Centiskorch can go. I quite like Venipede's design, though. Togepi and Togekiss? I need to get rid of someone else for Togekiss. Durant to Gensec, that was a coincidence that they ended up next to each other, but, you know, that almost works. It's a sort of evolutionary tree on its own. Yeah, Genesect can go. Marshadow, it's not quite... Like, Gengar, I think, is a better Shadow, and I don't think Gengar does a great job of it either. So I think Marshadow can go. I think Giratina just isn't coming over. Arceus isn't coming over. That's what I should really use. The one I crossed out, I want something that I want more than the thing I crossed out. I don't think you're ever going to be a Pokemon in my listing. I would rather have a Molga, sure. Yeah, okay. It's what I'd rather have. It doesn't have to be the best. Yeah, I don't have to think about it in a meta sense. It's just what would I rather have than the one I was willing to cross out. Yeah, so what it tells me, though, is that there's nothing on this page that I'm super chomping at the bit for. So I think in the interest of being extremely harsh, Feebas and Melodic are just doing Gyarados' thing. Even though they are great in their own right. Castiform I would like to save. And so I will give up 9 billion Pokemon. Shroomish or Castiform? I'd rather have a Castiform. I can always fight for my Shroomish later. Okay. You, I think, are just going to have to be left to the wayside. Lombre's fine, but we don't have room. Okay, let's save Lotad. Pupitar. Well, the problem with Pupitar, I guess, it doesn't inspire me, but you can't just jump from Larvitar to Tyranitar, right? So I'd rather have whatever I was trying to save than Arachnus. I'd rather have a Lotad than Arachnus. Okay. Can Wurmple and Silcoon do something with that Moth Pokemon? I would like to save all of these boys. So I'll get rid of these three, but then the question is, okay, how do I, if I want to save Aggron and whatnot, what do I trade for them? That's always the question here. Slugmon, Magcargo, again, they're great Pokemon, so let's grab both of them at the cost of these two. Anorith and Armalloth. Or what? Yeah. Torchic is great. Torchic doesn't have anything to evolve into. That gets kind of weird. I kind of like having the Spooky Ghost. I wonder if I would trade those for the other Spooky Ghost. Okay, I don't think Clamperl's making it. Huntail's not making it. I think Bagon's not coming at the end of the day. Yeah, Shieldon and Bastiodon are cooler than these guys anyways. And it's the same idea. Alright, I want these Reggies. These are very similar to the whole Larvitar, Tyranitar type chain, really. Maybe I should only have one of those. In which case, I think these guys are actually better. You. These should probably evolve into each other or something. And one more. You know, my original plan, I said it before, was 150 Pokemon only. And then, okay, and I'll give myself one spare. So now I can save Mewtwo. I'll save Mewtwo. Yeah, the original plan was 150, but even 200 is feeling pretty rough right now. Both of these can go. 1, 2, and the Wishy-Washy. 3. Okay, I have 3 spare right now. These are better than Tyranitar. They're basically a better Tyranitar. Let's go back. Okay, so I've got 3 spare. I can save 3 dudes. You gotta go, sorry. Okay, now I have 6. I have 6 spare. I can save 6. 1, 2, 3. These are great legendaries. I don't think these guys are going to make it. You definitely aren't. I've got those better Tyrannosauruses. Absol. Shieldon and Bastiodon. I'd rather have those than the ones I was getting rid of. So sure, let's do it. Shieldon and Bastiodon. Saved. Okay. There's got to be something I can do with like Wurmple and Beedrill, Kakuna, Weedle. You know, if I give up on Fearow and Sparrow, that's +1. Can't believe I want to save a Zubat, but I do. But we'll start with Psyduck for now. I'd give up a Carablast. 1. I'd give up Steelix. Get me these 2. It seems weird to save like 3 bugs and 3 cocoons, but I do really like the variety of them. Okay, I definitely want Diglett and Dugtrio. Man, I don't want to get rid of... What am I doing this for again? I need to get... for Diglett. It's like, what would you do for Diglett, right? Get rid of anything for Diglett. There's already a Vulpix. And then this thing can go. Okay, that's 2. There we go. I don't think Double can be saved. Not with everything else going on. I don't have room for Corvisquire. Would I rather have Rookidee and Corviknight or Pidgey and Pidgeotto? Ooh. Give up like Slowking and Machoke. For Corviknight and Rookidee. Let's just say, would I rather have a Sandslash and a Sandshrew, right? Or every Pokemon that you see here? I think I prefer them over like these 2, right? Okay, so there we go. And then we do it again. We go, would I rather have a Drifloon and a Drifblim over every Pokemon I see here? And I would take them over, would I take them over the Heliolisk? I would take them over the bugs, I think. Would I? The bugs are pretty good. But the question isn't, are they good? It's what would you rather have, right? And, okay. And if I can't find one to replace them, then they're gone. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, we're going to go from the top, and if I can't get rid of 2, then I just kick them out. I can get rid of the Shelgon. And the Deoxys. I'd rather have the Drifloon than a Deoxys. Okay. Oh wait, no, these ones don't even count. Okay. Wow. It has to be ones on this side. Okay. Drifloon or yeah, I don't need a Crawdaunt. Overquill. It's a little Overquill. Okay. So I get to keep those two. Then we go to the top. Now I need to save Wooloo and Yamper. Okay. So, am I willing to give up anyone here for a Wooloo and a Yamper? I'm not quite feeling it on this layer, so then we go to the next. And we say, okay, it's all up to you. You can save Wooloo and Yamper, you just have to get rid of something else. Like a Sentret and a Hoot Hoot. See, Yamper is fine, but there's so many like cute electric mascot type Pokemon. It's like, in many ways, I'd prefer a Yamper over a Sentret, but I think Yamper doesn't really stand out. Like, that would be in a vacuum, but given all the other electric mascot-y type Pokemon, the Fire-Water type is so cool. I mean, it wasn't, but in my imaginary world, it is now. So, I think I would make my life a whole lot easier if I gave up on this great big fuzzy caterpillar. Get rid of you. And you for a Wooloo and a Yamper? Yeah. Yeah, I think I would. Okay, congrats, you two are saved. Now keep in mind, I can also sacrifice save Pokemon, obviously. You know what? These guys, they're not coming. Dreadnaught's not coming. Pyukumuku and Cramorant. What am I willing to do for them? And in this case, I think I would be willing to give up a Horsea and a Kingdra for them. But then the question becomes, would I be willing to give up anyone for Horsea and Kingdra? I think I'd get rid of a Graveler for a Horsea. Okay, so who am I willing to sacrifice for Graveler and Kingdra? Do I actually like the Nidoran and I do like the sort of split into Nidoqueen and Nidoking. I think I do, yeah. I think I'd rather have a Kingdra than a Raichu. Simply because Horsea doesn't feel complete on his own, but Pikachu can stand on his own. Raichu and Graveler, or I'd rather have a Raichu than a Yamper. I hope I haven't done a complete circle. Yeah, I'd rather have a Raichu than a Yamper, I think. Okay, so Yamper and Graveler. I'd rather have a Yamper than a Sobble, and Sobble can go. So it's just Graveler now. Graveler or Knacklestack? Ooh. Let's take a look at a Knacklestack. Let's get a good look at him. Kind of a neat design. The Salt Cure ability is pretty cool. The problem is, if it had like other evolutions, I'd be much happier to see it. But I got rid of its evolutions because they were terrible. So, well, the lower evolution wasn't so bad. Okay, so now it becomes Knacklestack. You're willing to sacrifice someone for Knacklestack. And a Machoke while we're here, I guess. That doesn't do anything. So I need to get rid of someone for... I still need to get rid of someone for Graveler, basically. These pigs can go. This cat can go. I don't know why I keep allowing this one to stay. It keeps catching my imagination. I imagine sending it out and going, yeah, go Heliolisk. I think I have to ditch Knacklestack, and it's just Graveler now. Is Mantike needed? No, I don't think so. Okay, so there's one. Maybe the Quillfish. I like the idea of Pufferfish, but yeah, I think I'd rather have the Knacklestack. But then let's do Snom and Frostmoth, because I like these guys, and I'd be completely willing to throw you under the bus for them. So I will. 1 and 2. Okay, so Mimikyu and Knacklestack. No, that doesn't work. Mimikyu wasn't worth anything. So Snom and Knacklestack. If I want like the Psychic Bird, these make better Psychic Birds than these. I'd rather have a Snom than this one. But something about Hoot Hoot just screams to me second gen. I think it's probably because it's one of the first Pokemon you get. Noctowl and a Knackle stack. You know, Parasitchu, you can go, because we can't have you and an Emolga. That gets ridiculous. You're not even in the running. You know, I think these two can go. Okay. Whew. It's getting rough. And there's still a bunch I want to save. Let's grab this mess and figure out how to deal with it. Let's just look at all of these things. Figure out what to do about them. If there's only 200 Pokemon, you can't have a Wurmple and a Weedle and a Metapod and a Kakuna and a Wurmple. And I believe Silcoon already did turn into 2 things at one point, right? No. Oh, okay. It's supposed to turn into a Beautifly of all things, right? Okay, I think one thing I can do is get rid of Larvesta, Whirlipede. Either one of these. That looks right. Is it a Wurmple or a Venipede, which becomes one of these things? If you make it a Wurmple, the Silcoon could also become a Beedrill. And then it would be... you would be gone. And Sunskirt, I think, can just go. So I have 4 points, basically, I think it is, that I can use for all of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So, because these guys had 2 and Beedrill and Kakuna had 2. Weedle can go. Butterfree, would I rather have a Charbug than a Butterfree and a Caterpie? No. So, do that. And then Butterfree and Caterpie. So now it's Grubbin, Charbug, Metapod. Would I rather have the little electric bugs or the swords? Well, that's actually a tricky one. The swords are kind of cool, but they're not very Pokemon in a lot of ways. Like, they are just haunted armor, but, you know, they are haunted armor. So it's kind of cool. I'd rather... yeah. Okay. So now, Remoraid, Skitty, and Delcatty. I'd rather have Skitty and Delcatty than Tailo and Swellow. So Tailo, Swellow, Remoraid. Tailo and Swellow versus Pidgey and Pidgeotto. I think Pidgey and Pidgeotto win just because of familiarity, but, you know, they still do win. Grubbin into Kakuna into Beedrill, and Beedrill's an electric type? I mean, he has a drill. There's my Kakuna. And then I'm going to get myself... oh, I'm about to go crazy here. 1, 2, 3, 4... okay, I've got 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay. I want to save these teddy bears too, actually. I would rather have them than Skitty and Delkitty. Then Skitty and Delkitty, would I rather have Skitty and Delkitty? You know, I don't really care for Skitty and Delkitty, so they can go. There's going to be a disproportionate amount of legendaries at the rate this is going. It's kind of not what I want. Okay, I want Houndour. And I'd rather have a Houndour than a Swinub. So if I want Swinub, is Dunsparce really going to be... well, the thing is, they're great, they're fine. It's just... Camerupt just becomes a very strong standalone Pokemon. I don't want there to be, like, no Pokemon with evolutions. I don't really like Numel. Numel only excites me for the fact that it means you get a Camerupt at some point. You could say the same about Swinub, though, really. I have to remember what I'm fighting for here. Would I rather have those two or these two? Well, you're comparing boars to elephants, I guess. Oh, it's getting painful here. Who am I sacrificing for Piloswine? Yeah, I think I get rid of Sentret. I think the ugly duckling thing is just not going to happen. Standalone turtle isn't going to happen. Did I not grab these two? I did at one point, right? One of these. There we go. Because there's too many legendaries already. Okay. Regigigas. I would like a Regigigas. Eevee's taking up half the space of the Pokemon. See, modern Pokemon, Nidoking and Nidoqueen would take up one spot, which I suppose I could do. And what is the disadvantage of Pokemon taking up the same spot? Like, you can't combine them in Pokemon Fusion, but you can combine two of the same Pokemon. And I don't know what happens if they're, like, differently sexed Pokemon, how that works in Pokemon Fusion. Like if you use that lion Pokemon, Monarch. But it changes into one or the other based on its sex, yeah. And the color will be blue or purple if it's male or female or male, I guess. I haven't figured out Venonat and Venomoth yet. They could go join that weird ball of... I could get rid of Venonat altogether. I for some reason I like Venonat's design though. So, who are you willing to give up for Venonat? Back to the slaughter. Venonat and Venomoth. I kind of like the Scyther getting the different forms. But if I got rid of them both, it would certainly simplify my life. The fact I'm keeping Electrode and Voltorb is kind of ridiculous. I think seeing the later gen Pokemon has made me more biased again towards the older generation of Pokemon, which was the opposite of my plan. It was to look for the greatness in the new generations. I think what I do is I get rid of Charbug, get rid of Talonflame, Moltres already exists, and then, now that I have secured my moths, I grab them as well. I chuck them in here. I grab the Grubbin and I grab Beedrill back. Venomoth here. Okay, so I'm at +2 right now. Having a brainwave. Just bear with me. +3. +4. +5. Yeah, you can kind of see the horns there, actually, that are in Metapod. Hang on a second. Why does Venonat look like they should have turned into Butterfree and Metapod look like they should have turned into Venomoth? I just realized that they must have swapped them at one point. Look at that. It's so obvious. So if I do that, it sort of brings them all together. You get rid of Caterpie, which is a shame. But Venonat is more compelling than Caterpie. Maybe I bring Weedle back and also bring Charbug back? I was thinking of making this like an electric chain. Poison electric, maybe, instead of Bug. Make him a Beedrill. Charbug's kind of the one that sells it, though. Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill. It feels superfluous. But Venonat's poisonous. Doesn't really fit them. But Venonat didn't really fit Venomoth, and Caterpie didn't really fit Butterfree, really. And chuck a Silcoon there? Venonat, Silcoon, Beedrill? That's not how bees work. Well, do bees even have cocoons in the first place? Yeah, they have grubs. It'd make more sense to take those two. What if a Caterpie can turn into a Kakuna? Is that crazy? Caterpie into Kakuna into Beedrill. And what if... This might be a step too far, but what if we were to do something like that? Oh, that's horrible. Does Metapod get an eye too? That doesn't look like anything. What about you, though? Get one of those big blue eyes. Oh, that's kind of cute. Whip out the eraser. There. There we go. And now how do I tie in a Kakuna? Because those kind of look like Beedrills. But why is it so yellow? Do something like... This is going a little bit out of the ways of eliminating a set amount of Pokemon. But it's getting hard, so I think I need to cheat a little bit. I wonder why Weedle has these pink bumps on him. You don't see that on... Of course, the pupil form doesn't always look anything like the final form. That said, it does have the fangs of Venomoth, so maybe this was meant to turn into Butterfree and Venomoth at one point. Maybe this was meant to be there instead of Caterpie. So I believe Caterpie was the first Pokemon Ash caught. Oh, but Butterfree also has the little fangs. Yeah, this thing doesn't look half bad. It needs something to bind it a little bit more tightly to... Well, that red nose is kind of like Weedle's red nose, right? Give it a head spike or antennas? Not like Kakuna has a head spike. Or Beedrill. And we don't want this to get too busy. Like I was talking about one of my problems with modern Pokemon being everything's a bit too busy. Probably fine. Strange how every time you move it, it leaves a little bit outside. Okay. Okay, that's sort of fun. And they get rid of Venonat for +4. I will say that was fairly heavily cheating. It allows me to get rid of a bunch of Pokemon. And resolve the... Because, see, the problem is, if I'm combining a bunch of bugs, I don't want each bug taking up 3 spots. Because then if I want 3 bugs, that's 9 spots out of 200. But this way, they only take up 6 spots. It's a bit more efficient. And you get a bit of each, which is nice. Although looking at it now, like, nothing about Metapod relates to Butterfree at all. But it does match Venomoth. I should almost give Metapod Venomnat's little antenna. Okay, so I have +5. I can save 5 Pokemon. I will save Dugong, Seal, Dragnar, Dratini, and Delmise. Okay, so that brings me to Phalanx. I like you. Who am I willing to give up for you? Well, first of all, Mimikyu's not going to make it. I'll tell you that much. I think there's too many dragons already. Oh, Miraidon's pretty cool. I'm kind of considering dishing Farfetch'd. Like, you go to the guy and he's like, hey, I'd like to trade you I'll trade you a Farfetch for a Pidgeotto. You're like, okay, that's kind of a different thing. But you say, I'll trade you my Phalanx, and you're like, ooh, now we're talking about something. Does Kingler need to exist? Yes. Krabby needs to evolve into something. Do I get rid of Haunter and Gengar? Again, Gengar's in the starting cinematic. It gets really strange. Phalanx or Pohatu? Do these things need to exist? Like, I can imagine level 100 Scyther. It's fine. And there's already Cubitops, which is basically the same thing. But this is about Phalanx. This isn't about in general. And I think I prefer the Cleaver to the Phalanx for now. Give up on the monkey. Give up on my dreams. Give up on the Spoink. Yeah, okay. So Spoink is getting crossed out, except I'm just trying to imagine, like, go Spoink, and then Spoink evolves into like an Angry Birds villain. Dunsparce is kind of, it keeps tripping me up because it's like, I want it because I think it's neat that it has an evolution, but it's such a, and it's not a bad evolution either. It's just so plain. I almost don't know if it's worth it, but would you give up Vibrava? Would you give up would you give those electric bugs for Spoink? Would you give up Mischievous for Spoink? Could Spoink evolve into Gardevoir? I think Spoink's gonna go. Okay, so this recording's been going much longer than I thought it would. So I guess this won't be the last part, and I will have to, I'll tidy this up again so it's easier to look at once more. Maybe there's enough cut down now that I can put all of the kept ones on one side of the page and all of the not kept ones on the other side of the page. And then that one will probably be the final one. Man, it's getting hard though. It's getting really hard. And there's a lot that, well, it's funny, like, you know, Lugia and Ho-Oh and Shuckle and these, it's like, I really want them, but it's sort of like, I'm not willing to think about the choice. Like, it's so much brain power to say, oh, do you want this or this? And then it becomes difficult. So yeah, I'm getting there. It's getting rough, but it is slowly getting down to the last ones. And then we shall have the perfect set of Pokemon. And I'm sure I'd change my mind about it the moment I'm done. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Take care.